Thanks very much, Paul, and thank you all very much for the opportunity to speak to you this morning. I also would like to acknowledge that we're meeting today on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people, and I pay my respects to their elders past and present, and I'd like to thank Auntie Di for her welcome to country. I wanted to start off today with a couple of audio-visual presentations, but unfortunately I failed to innovate adequately, and therefore I'm going to have to paint you some word pictures to get started. My audio-visual skills have let me down. But what I was going to show you was two ads, and they're entirely out of context from the discussions that you're having today. They're both political ads. One that happened 50 years ago in the United States. It's better known as the Daisy ad. It was used in the context of the US presidential elections between President Johnson and Barry Goldwater. And in the context of this ad, you see a young girl pulling apart daisies, counting the daisy petals as she pulls them off. And slowly but surely you see her fade and a thermonuclear weapon explode. I don't know that the message to the ad was that one nuclear bomb can ruin your whole day, but essentially it was pulling towards those visceral fears that people had at the time in respect of the prospects of thermonuclear destruction. And I suppose Barry Goldwater probably paid the price in that election campaign for suggesting that he had no problem with the idea of preemptive nuclear strike against America's enemies. Then there's the Gruen transfer, produced an ad that never actually went to air. In fact, I think the Greens political party would have loved it to go to air. It was an awesome ad, I've got to say. It would have been even better if it was an ALP ad that they produced. But it really played towards people's aspirations for the future. And what it basically showed is if you believe that asylum seekers should be treated better, if you believe that global warming is a real threat to our environment, then if you think, you vote Green. Now please don't take that as a political ad. So what is the challenge for me is how do I actually draw those two political ads into the context of a seminar about corporate social responsibilities? It's going to be a challenge, but I'm going to get there. So the first message, I suppose, as I say, is that the Johnson ad was all about fear. Politics in both the capital P and in the small p sense play an increasingly relevant role in corporate social responsibilities. The two main ads that unfortunately I never got to show you, in many ways juxtapose the human dilemma. We're all fighting our demons of fears with our angels of hope. Fear of failure, hope for the future, failure and success. What these ads teach us is that how we market who we are and what we believe in, and what positive action we're taking, can be just as powerful as a message as the sum of all our fears. So positive messages can be used to subsume our trepidations. Now, any politician will tell you that it's much harder to sell a positive story than a negative one. Unfortunately, it's an indication of human life. Perhaps because, as with all things, it's easier to tear something down than it is to build something up. Quite often, an appeal to the primal or the visceral, in terms of our fears and our prejudices, is more fertile ground than simply appealing to our better natures. Why is this? Perhaps the gratuity, the easy hit, or the quick return in a corporate sense is all too often overwhelming to those of us seeking to score a point or to make a profit. In the corporate sector, the pursuit of profit can be as all-consuming as the pursuit of power is in politics. So what happens when a genuine desire for corporate social responsibility collides with economic challenges? Does fear consume us, or does hope actually sustain us? It's probably no surprise to anyone that few Australians know what corporate social responsibility is, or for that matter, and perhaps importantly, want to pay for it. Last year, the Australian Financial Review reported on a Lonergan research study that found that only 14% of respondents knew what corporate social responsibility means. Once the idea of considering the social and the environmental impacts on the community was explained to the respondents, 94% of the respondents said they supported the idea. 75% said that it should be maintained regardless of the economic climate within which corporations were operating. But here's the rub. 35% of the respondents didn't think that companies should pass on their CSR-related costs to consumers. So a good idea has many friends, but a bill is an orphan. So it has to make business sense, therefore, if you're going to sustain your commitment to corporate social responsibility. Here in the good times, gone in the bad philosophy just won't work if you're actually seeking to genuinely change not only the philosophy of the company, but the way that the company goes about its undertakings. CSR is, as we know, disproportionately represented in big business and has a lesser uptake and engagement from smaller business. And of course, most governments do, with varying degrees of enthusiasm and sometimes inconsistent ardour, encourage it. But espousing such laudable objectives as being a good corporate citizen, analysing, monitoring and managing the social consequences of development can all be vaporised if it's exposed as being nothing more than fair weather affection. If the triple bottom line only means ticking 3 boxes, or if corporate social responsibility means finding some outliers within your organisation to populate the corporate equivalent of the Russian front, only to be sacrificed at the first whiff of economic uncertainty or a quick buck, well, the warm fuzzy feeling dissipates and our fears and our prejudices take hold. To succeed, CSR strategies must be seen as an integral part of the corporate vision and embedded in the corporate culture, extending from the CEO and the board all the way down and reflected in the day-to-day commercial behaviour of the corporation. Community cynicism will vanish not as a result of a single grandiose gesture, but from the demonstration that CSR is an intrinsic part of who you are and what you believe in, and how you can be expected to act all the time. So if you're a large corporation and you want to use CSR as a marketing tool, forget it. Unless it's part of your corporate ethos from top to bottom, from day to day. CSR is not about denying the economic realities in which your organisation operates. It's also about establishing the basis on which you engage with the community. Philanthropic show of generosity followed by wholesale labour shedding to offshore jobs just commoditises the relationship with the public. Dr. Michael Schutler, the founder of the British Relationships Foundation, puts it this way, that if our relationships are so fundamental to our well-being, why do we keep forgetting to take account of them in our strivings? Wouldn't we be better off if we got into the habit of viewing all our endeavours through a lens that focused on the implications for our relationships? CSR is, in my view, a mangled marketing term for investing in our relationships and taking them beyond the purely transactional. We all want our relationships to last. They're the emotional glue that fixes our society. Ross Giddens recently observed that much of our ever-increasing affluence over the past 200 years has been achieved at the expense of our relationships. Our complex economy and its multifaceted and dehumanised transactional nature has devalued the thing that we value most: constancy, commitment and consistency. In effect, we must all recognise that the corporate world occupies the same planet as our friends, our family and our future. This is not a parallel universe. I want to conclude with an acknowledgement that I suspect everyone here is motivated to attend this conference, at least in part out of a sense of social responsibility, a desire to ensure your business is a contributor to the community. But governments have a role to play too. And it's not just about admonishing poor corporate behaviour, although politicians, and particularly opposition politicians, have a habit of doing that. and I might say that politicians can hardly be considered qualified the moderators of good behaviour. It's about recognising that if we're going to invest in our relationships, that our relationships with government and with one another, that is corporation to corporation and to the community more generally, must not only be valued as crucial, but be seen as enduring ones. So if the government say they support equal pay, for example, they have to go about something more than sanctimonious political positioning. They have to put their money where their mouth is. In a micro sense, I was once a Minister for Roads in a former life, and I saw the development of one of the world's first carbon neutral road constructions. Now, it was a small but profound cultural change for an organisation that loves building roads. Gosh, they love building roads. And one I might say that the organisation actually embraced with relish. They enjoyed and indeed they saw it as their responsibility to make the world just that little bit better. And it's those small steps of achievement focused on trying to improve the delivery of the services that you do that are not simply, that should not simply be the obligation directed to the corporate world. It's also something that governments must take into account as well. In my own electorate, I chair an extended hours community hub based at one of my local high schools. Now, when that school suffered major rain inundation, the whole idea of the promotional activities of the extended hours hub to disadvantaged community and telling the parents of the community that they should come and use the facilities of the school were severely compromised. Who wants to go and work out of portables in order to further your own learning and access community services? But perhaps the thing that disappointed me most out of that is that the school never got a certainty about the way forward from government and still waits for certainty while the kids continue to work out of demountables. In many ways, it's a clear sign that government has a role to play if we've got an approach to encourage people to work with industry, and industry were big supporters of the Extended Hours Hub. We were working with the Smith family and of course a major bank who were both supporters of it, and here we were left essentially trying to promote extended hours to a disadvantaged community, but government couldn't play its part. Now, I suppose the basic message there is that we do need to try harder and do better into the future, and we need to be consistent and committed to those things that we see as being our corporate social responsibility. CSR, of course, is all about relationships, how much we hope to invest in them and how much we fear being let down by them. And I suppose I'd like to quote Francis Bacon to you. I'll see if I do it right. It might come as a surprise to you, but I'm a big fan of Bacon. And what Francis Bacon had to say is there is no comparison between that which we fail by not trying and that which we fail by not succeeding. I think, put another way, really what Francis Bacon was saying is it's better to have tried and failed than never to have tried at all. Or if at first you don't succeed, try again. And consequently, what I would say to you is don't give up on corporate social responsibility. If within your own organisations you're seen as an outlier and you're advocating for the future, continue to do so. Recognise that you have a responsibility within your organisation, but as a community we have a responsibility to innovate and to improve the delivery of the services and our commitment to the future. So it's not so much about bombs or hugs, but fear or hope. It's our collective choice what sort of corporate and communal future that we invest in. Thank you very much.